So just a little bit of background on myself. In my 28th year, started in patrol. Someone asked me how long and why do we wear the hash marks. You get one hash mark for every 4 years of service. So sometimes people think it's because of your rank or something like that, but you'll see many departments. So kids always ask me what are those for, and I tell them, can you do the math? So I have 7 stripes for my 28th year in police. I've been patrol, I've been a detective, sergeant, and currently lieutenant, so I oversee the whole patrol division. That's my position. At any time, if someone has a question, a comment, talk about something, feel free. It's kind of open, and we've got different things we're going to talk about. Joanne, if you haven't met her, she's our crime prevention specialist. She's great with all the numbers, stats, putting stuff together. Huge asset at our department. We're very lucky to have what she does. And she's been here. You've been here a long time.
I just had 23 years.
3 years. You don't get any stripes, huh?
I don't get stripes, but I'm also lucky that I don't have to wear the monkey suit, so.
So we're going to talk a little bit about crimes of opportunity. And I made a little cheat sheet here just to to talk about things. But when we talk about crimes of opportunity, it's making it simple for someone to either take advantage of you, steal something, defraud you. Sometimes they target elderly because it can be an easier target at times, either by the phone or on other things, and we'll talk about that. But basically, you got to understand crooks in general are lazy. They do not want to work too hard to get what they're trying to do. And if it's something that they have to do to break into something, it may cause them more to get caught versus something that's really simple to take or get away with. Most of them are going to go that route. There's always certain folks that plan things out very elaborate. We see it on TV. You see heists, you see stuff like that. That's not the norm, but certainly that stuff goes on. But what is the norm is crimes of opportunity. And does anyone have an idea of what if you thought about what's an easy crime of opportunity for somebody?
Leaving your keys in your car.
Leaving your keys in your car. That's the idea we're talking about. So if you're Minnesota, some cities have an ordinance against having keys in your car, warming up your car. Minneapolis is one. But if you choose to leave your keys in the car, either running or not running, and someone comes along and says, I'm tired of walking, and I've got 10 more miles to go, and I don't have money for a cab, or I don't want to spend that, what an easy way to jump into someone's car. It's already there and take off. Versus you remember the old term when we were all younger, hot wiring? A lot of these cars today are hard to hot wire. The older versions of cars, simple for these guys. But these newer versions, because they're all electronic, most of them you have to have your own key that recognizes your fobs. Those days of that are different, but we do see certainly a lot of people when we have their cars stolen, stuff like that, they leave their keys in. Anything else maybe you can think of that's a real simple one?
Open windows.
In houses or cars? So a perfect one would be cars, and we'll talk about crimes of opportunity in your driveway. You're parking at night in a driveway, in a parking lot at a shopping center. Something as simple as change sitting in your cup holder is inviting for someone to now go into your car and take a look around. If that person was walking around and get a buck or two out of everyone's change holder, in there, that's a pretty, might be a pretty good day if they go through 20, 30 cars. But that $1 in your cup holder can certainly lead to other things going through your car. How many of us have papers in our glove box with personal information? Probably more than you think if you thought about it. Go in there, open up. How many people every year just take that new insurance card, boom, the old one sits in there. The next form you had from the muffler shop with all your personal information is sitting in there. My receipt from the DMV, you know, for your license tabs, you know, maybe you take that off, you put it in. Those things you have to think about. Those are crimes of opportunity. You made it easy to get into the car. And we're saying opportunity, these are generally people that aren't locking their car. You know, it's just a simple, I can get in, I'm not going to make any noise by breaking a window. The reality is if I went into your car and you were standing next to me, you wouldn't, unless you know that was her car and that's my friend, you wouldn't know if I got into her car and was looking around and rummaging through it. Most people would think nothing of it. So that's the mindset we want to kind of put into people is, you know, don't make it easy on someone to take advantage of you, you know, take your stuff, get your personal information. So we talk about cars. It's no different than in your house. We take, in the summertime, it's not a norm, but we have people that will walk through, you know, house areas. They'll wait for that nice big purse to be sitting right by the picture window. The windows are open because it's summertime. All they got to do is either push the screen in or cut the screen at night real quick. They reach in and grab the purse and they're gone. Not uncommon. Does it happen a ton? No, but it's not uncommon. Again, we made it simple for someone that's out looking for that kind of target on what to do. We talk about purses again. So all of us, I've walked around with my wife, you know, my mom, shopping carts at the grocery store. Number one, that is an easiest target for the guys that aren't shopping at the grocery store, but they're shopping for your information. So you walk around, and I'm specifically obviously talking to the ladies. You got your nice handbag sitting in the front of your shopping cart. Most of the time, the zipper's undone. They're wide open because it's easy access for your personal property. I'm the other guy kind of following around, maybe making it a diversion. And as soon as you go to reach something, I just reach in and take your pocketbook out of your purse. And then before you even know it, you go to the checkout and it's like, what happened to my pocketbook that was in my purse? Easy crime of opportunity. We get that a lot. You know, that's a very common thing. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I mentioned that to a woman in a grocery store one time. She walked away, went down quite far, left her purse in the basket, and I mentioned it to her, and she said to me, "Mind your own business." So from then on, I won't say anything to anybody.
So the lesson learned today is you got your stuff in your purse because you're minding your business, and she's wondering where her pocketbook is, right? So yeah, I mean, something as simple as that. You know, you think about it. I don't carry a purse, I admit to it. But if I did, I mean, and I was shopping, whatever. Number one, I would have it on you. You know, when you know your personal stuff is attached to you somehow. If someone's trying to pull on it or something, at least you have that heads up a little bit of someone's trying to invade my space and maybe try to take something from me. I wouldn't carry it open, you know, or unzipped. That's just an easier target to get in. What are they looking for in your purse? What do you think?
Money.
Money, number one. Cell phone. Information is a biggie. They're looking for your credit or your debit card.
They want those bad.
And they want to get that, and there's two things they do. They're hoping that maybe they're not going to grab the one you use all the time. Maybe they're looking for that credit card that's you got 6 or 7 deep or on the side that you're not going to realize right away it was taken. But they'll also, you know, they might take that one right on the front. The first thing that they do, and this is a tip for you guys, and we'll talk about it later, but if you see like a gasoline swipe or something on a credit card that you don't think you did, you know, it's like, I didn't buy gas at that gas station on that credit card. That is generally a good tip for someone to know someone's out trying to use your cards. Because we all know you can go to any gas station, put the card in, and it'll say approved or not approved. It doesn't say stolen. It just says approved or not approved. And when they see that approved, they know that card's still good, that it's working. So they'll put their couple of bucks of gas in, they got a hot card, out to the shopping spree they go. So a little tip for, you know, if you're monitoring your stuff, it's very common for folks that do credit card fraud to go make simple purchases where they can't really get caught when they slide it in to see if it works. You know, you're seeing more and more gas stations now asking you for a zip code, something like that, but still, I mean, you go to California, you got to give like 15 forms of identification, you know, prepay your gas pump, and then maybe use your card. But, you know, that's one thing. Yes, ma'am.
We were in California a few years back, and we came back, and we were back a while, and I noticed on the credit card we had gas charged to us, and we weren't even there at that time. And that credit card company was going to get the money from me, hell and high water, as they say. They were just awful. And I said, well, you know, I can send you the day that SUV was filled with gas. My husband was in Minnesota because he had an important doctor's appointment with a cancer doctor, so I can prove we were here. Then they tried to say that we borrowed the card to somebody.
Right. Well, I mean, you always have, and you know, another thing, and this is for the gents in here, is you know, you talk about wallets, you talk about personal information. One of the things another thing that, you know, the trend was originally they'd take your card and they'd go out and use it. We then saw that the trend was moving to, I'm not going to take the card, but I'm going to write down all the card information. No one's around, and I'm going to put the card back in the wallet. Well, why? Because you don't think it's gone. And someone's out making phone calls and buying stuff based on all your card information. We've all done it. It's simple to do. But awareness is the key. You know, this is what you call crimes of eliminate that easy access to your information on, you know, don't make it simple for someone to go steal your purse, you know, find your wallet, you know, change in your car, simple stuff like that. Anything you want to add to that? Or?
Well, I was going to say the opportunity is the one thing that we all can influence. We can't change the bad guy's mind about wanting to commit the crime. We can't change their motivation of why they want to do that crime. But the one thing we can, you know, take charge of is that opportunity. If we take the opportunity away, we make it much harder for them to commit that crime, and they'll move on and hopefully out of Golden Valley and somewhere else. You know, and one of the things Steve was talking about was your wallet, and I just went through this with my dad. Is he had gotten a new wallet, and he asked me to help get stuff, you know, arranged in his new wallet, and he was carrying credit cards with him that he's never going to use. Home Depot, Sears, and I'm like, really? You know, and I'm like, you can have the credit cards, but you know, you don't necessarily need to carry them with you all the time. So I encourage all of you to go home and take inventory of what's in your wallet. If it's not something that you use regularly, then take it out, put it in a safe place at home. If you're going to Home Depot and you know that you want to use the credit card, you can take it with you for that trip. Make sure you're not carrying your Social Security card with you or anything that has your Social Security number on it. That's all they need to open new credit in your name, which we don't have a ton, but we have some identity theft cases where they don't know how the person got that information, but they're opening new lines of credit, they're buying 6 cell phones, all sorts of different things in other people's names. You won't be held responsible for that, but you do have to fix it all. You have to take your time. The last study I saw from the U.S. Attorney General said it'll take about 200 hours of your time to fix it if somebody steals your identity. I have a lot better things to do with my time than sit on the phone.
I have a 2-part question. I've got a wallet now. It's got some kind of a screen in it, so
It can't be read?
it can't be read.
Yep.
And the other thing is, if they can read, and you have 3 or 4 credit cards piled together, I don't understand how they can get the information only off of one of them.
I don't know that either. I'll be honest, we have not seen that occur yet, or at least that we know of, that anybody's reported to us where we know for a fact that's how they're getting the people's credit card information. We've had skimmers put on gas pumps where you think you're swiping your card, but it's really their skimmer that's grabbing that information off of your credit card.
If you don't know what a skimmer is, I mean, she talks about it. It's they put their own little contraption on there that looks like a credit card swipe, and it is, but all you're doing is swiping the information, and they're taking it and taking all your card information.
And you just think the gas pump's broken. You're like, oh, it doesn't work, so you move to another one, and it might work on that one.
Right.
The
And
gas station isn't aware of it.
This one wasn't, and these guys actually were a group out of California that had come to the Midwest, and I think they did like 6 different gas stations around, all the way from like St. Paul, and I think we were the one farthest west. They might have done one in Plymouth.
They did one in the Shell station on 169 and 36.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
we had a case, I think it was last year, where one of our restaurants had someone from the inside. One of the waitresses was being paid to swipe credit cards on a handheld skimmer by someone else, and we started to realize when people were calling us saying, hey, my credit card's being used all over, and the last place I used it was at this restaurant. Well, it didn't take some great detective work to put 2 and 2 together when the person was the same server with all these people. But you have to understand, again, this stuff is out there. You know, we talk about a lot of things, but knowing your surroundings, knowing where you are, you know, don't put yourself in a vulnerable situation. Me as a policeman, I go to areas I'm not familiar with. I travel. I'm more aware of, you know, this. I don't know the area around here. I don't want to put myself in a situation where maybe I'm opening myself up as an easy target for something. I mean, I say that just in general terms of anytime you're out and about or doing something, just be aware of your surroundings. You know, be aware of what's going on when you're parking at night. If you're going to a place at night and realizing I'm going to be gone for 6 hours, and when I come back to this spot, will I be the only car possibly around in this parking ramp or in this block because I had to walk so far? Opening yourself up maybe for an opportunity for someone to say, "Up, well, here they come." It's, you know, and it's, again, it's not the norm. I'm not here to scare you on that, but just making you aware of those are things that we should all be aware of. I want to talk about checks a little bit. I know the younger generation, and I'm talking my kids, they don't even know what a check is. They know what Dad's check card is, and they know how to use it real well. But I would tell you in checks, number one, checks provide a ton of personal information to people that want to somehow open an account, use your account, make fake checks. You got your name on there, you got your address on there. I would highly tell you, if you have your driver's license number on there, to not order it anymore with it on there. That was a very common thing years and years ago. Let's put everything on there, because then I don't have to show them. That's just what everyone did. Phone numbers, etc. Put as little information as you can on those checks. Keep in mind, when we talk about information, the internet today provides so much stuff. You know, we at the police department, everyone thinks we got all these special programs. We do have a lot of special programs. We can look people up, but I'm telling you, a lot of the times it's called Google. We might just go in and Google a person's name of a suspect or something, and boom, up pops his Facebook page. Up pops their home address. Oh, these even got a picture of holding themselves with the stolen property that they're bragging on. You wouldn't believe what's out there on the information. So just be aware, when we talk about checks though, the number one cardinal sin on checks is never ever pay your bills at your mailbox. So if you're writing your check out to the gas company, the electric company, you're putting your checks in your mailbox, your flag goes up, all you're telling is the guy driving around, there's envelopes in that mailbox that I want, and hopefully there's checks in there. Because then they can go in, they remove those bills from your mailbox. They got a nice copy of your check with your signature already on it. There's a process, it's pretty simple. They call it washing the check. It's a chemical they can put on that washes the top part out, you know, to XL Energy or whatever. They got a nice copy of your check with your signature. They make hundreds of them. and have that.
With a pen.
I'm just telling you this,
No,
they can
there's a
still,
pen- There's a pen you can write.
could
with,
be.
But they can't take off the information and put other.
Yep.
No, but what they'll do then is they'll take your bank account number and your routing number, and they're making new checks
Right.
with that same number.
So I would just tell you, and if you're not doing it, great, but if there's anyone in here that's still using the mail system at their house, popping the flag up to put personal information on that you're sending out, by putting that flag up, you're telling someone who's driving around, that's someone I want to check out.
You should also know, on the opposite note of that, when you have incoming mail, know when your different credit card statements and bank statements and such should be arriving. You know, I know that my bank statement's always cut on the 20th of the month, so I know by the 23rd I should have it. And if I don't, then it's like, you know, why don't I have it? You know, did somebody take it? Is it just delayed? But it just kind of puts me on alert that I know when those things should be coming in. You can also opt out of the mailing ones, and they will email them to you.
Yeah, and most of the stuff we see fraud-wise, checks makes it really easy. I mean, if you're bringing a check to whatever, a business, you're dropping it off, you've got that piece of paper that if someone wants it with your personal information, you're giving them that. And most places are going away from checks, but still, I mean, I still use them. You know, you got to pay your electric, your power bill. You know, you can set surfing up. But we always say that to be aware of, you know, checks provides personal information, opportunity, crime of opportunity. You're giving someone stuff. So, moving into that goes, yes, ma'am.
If you don't use checks and go, you know, pay all your bills online, they talk about people being able to get that online information. I'm kind of torn as to, you know.
If it's a reputable company, you know, like a big company, CenterPoint Energy, Excel, they all have secure servers, and you will know that it's secure when you look up in the URL box, like where you type in the website address. It'll have a little padlock. And also before it, where it says HTTP and then there's a colon, there'll be an S after that, HTTPS. The S stands for secure. That means you are looking at a secure server information. You have to have passwords and everything to get into it. If you don't see that, whether it's a bill you're paying, you're ordering something online, that's where you don't put your personal information in.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying checks are bad. You know, if you know, number one, just mail them properly. You know, don't put them in your own. Don't make yourself vulnerable. Going to the mail, you know, regular mailbox or the post office, perfect. I use them all the time to pay general bills that I know. But just be aware that anytime you're putting something out there like that, you know, if you're going to the local store or something, you don't know the third person that might see that check. We see that with credit cards and stuff too. Just because you give a credit card information to the person at the till doesn't mean that's the person that's trying to scam your credit card. It could be someone within, you know, someone else within that business that maybe has access to information. But that's once you scan, it's pretty tough to get that information. I mean, it's pretty protected.
You can also opt for auto pay on a lot of things where it'll just automatically deduct it from your account every month.
I have an interesting one I bet you nobody in this room had. I was going to withdraw some money, and I looked at my deposit slip, and it was somebody else's name. So, in other words, it was just wrong. I had theirs. I don't know who had the other half of mine.
Right.
So it was scary.
So they deposited half the check?
Pardon
They
me?
deposited half the check? Is that what you said?
No, like
No,
her
that's-
deposit slip had somebody else's information on it.
Oh, well, that's weird.
And what happened to mine?
Yeah.
You
I'd
know?
be asking the bank pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, I did. Believe me. And it was Wells Fargo, and they said, well, you need to change your account. And I said, I've had this account for 50 years. I don't want it, and it's your responsibility to take care of this. Oh, it wasn't our fault. It was Waconia or something like that. their printer. And I said, you better get a different printer because somebody's got part of mine and I got part of somebody else's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that bank, you know, as far as your name and that, I used to put my full name on there, telephone number, social security, and I cut it down to initials. But when you sign the check, they still get the information.
Yeah, I mean, I've even gotten to the point where I'll go, you know, you go to the doctor or some other place. Some of those forms ask for a lot of real personal information. Social security number, I will tell you to this day, unless it's absolutely needed, I don't provide that on any forms anymore. That is one, if someone gets your social security number, they can, for identity theft. That is something that, you know, they can run with. To tell you how identity theft, I had a case, I don't know how many years ago, but there was a nun that was being assisted by a home health care worker. And that person opened up, I don't remember exactly how many, it was somewhere in the reference between 15 and 19 credit cards and bank accounts against this person. Actually had bought a home, purchased a car, bought all the furniture and everything for the home. Her car went in for repair and, you know, had to get a rental car on another one of the cards. So it just kept spiraling and spiraling into hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s. And this, you know, this gal was a nun at the church and obviously didn't have that, you know, that income to support all those cards that were opened up in the first place. But it just showed you how quickly it spiraled out of control when that person got some of her personal information. The other thing is, savvy or not on the internet, it's a good tool for you guys for watching your own personal information. I'll just talk in general terms of, I look at my bank accounts at least every other day online, just to bring them up and make sure, number one, what are my kids buying? But more so, does everything look normal? You know, are these accounts or things that I've had? Something as simple as maybe a gas, you went and double tapped you for the same thing twice for the same gas. I have had that happen. But I'm just doing that to make sure for myself that something as oddly isn't going on with my bank account. So if you have internet, you have your bank account set up, and that some do, some don't. That's a good tool. Is there some other ones that they can look at for credit? I mean, more credit reports? You would know that.
Absolutely. And I apologize. We have these awesome books called Guarding Your Privacy that we get from the Minnesota Attorney General, and we are out of them. I ordered more, but they haven't come in yet. So I will make sure that some get dropped off here. We also will have them at the police department. But it's a great resource. But in there, it talks about how you can contact the 3 credit reporting agencies. You are entitled to a free copy of your credit report every year. A lot of times banks will give them to you. I know my credit union will when I want to see a copy of my credit report. In Minnesota, we also have a system where you can actually lock your credit report, and in this book it tells you how to do that. All you have to do is essentially send them this kind of form letter in writing that says you want to lock your credit report. That means nobody can pull it and get access to it without your permission. And you'll get alerted if somebody is trying to pull that credit report or obtain new credit in your name. When you do need to unlock it, all you have to do is notify them again, and I think it might cost $5 to unlock it. But you just notify them. If it's just for a certain amount of time, like let's say you're going to go buy a new car and you're going to have to apply for a loan, they're going to need to see that credit report. You can say from, you know, March 1st to May 1st, unlock it. And then on May 2nd, it'll get locked down again. But that is just an extra little security feature that we have in Minnesota that the Attorney General has arranged for that doesn't allow credit reports to be seen. You just have to remember that you have it locked when you go to buy a new car, because I made that mistake. The guy's like, we can't get your credit. And I'm like, oopsie. As Steve said too, is the Social Security number, it seems like they ask it on a ton of forms and they still ask for it at the doctor's offices. Unless it's financially related, you're applying for a loan, you're applying for some kind of credit, that sort of thing, nobody needs to know what your Social Security number is. They have no reason to know what it is. So you do not have to provide it to them. If they insist upon it, then just say, I need to see in writing why you want it. Because a lot of times they don't understand that, no, they don't really need it. They just know that you're supposed to fill out the form. But if you push them on it, they usually will go, okay, fine, or have somebody call me and explain why you need it, and then we'll talk about it some more.
Talk about phone fraud a little bit. Just interestingly, last night my mom called me and said, "Oh my gosh, I've got a message on my phone machine, and it's someone from the IRS, and I'm being sued."
How many people have
And
gotten that call so far this year? Nobody?
Anybody
couple?
got it?
One in the room? Two couple?
Yeah, and she said, "Well, I need to call them back immediately." And of course I started laughing, and she thought it was, something major here. And that is a perfect example of what is going around, targeting certain individuals. Again, we see a lot of that, that type of a phone call targeted more towards elderly, people that are very conscientious. Your generation of people are very conscientious of making sure they take care of, oh my gosh, this person called, I need to call them back right away and take care of this. Where maybe my daughter or these younger kids is like, I don't care about the message, or I'm not even going to listen to it. What I say is, if you get a message like that on your phone, or you get someone calling you saying, you've won the lottery, I'm calling you from Australia, but in order to, you have to prepay your taxes, you need to, they're all congratulations, but you need to send us $15,000 and then we'll send you your lottery check. Boy, that sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, it is. And we get a lot of that. You'd be surprised. We get a lot of that. We get a lot, this IRS thing going around right now. You get a call, they'll call you, threaten you. You need to, again, wire us money right away and we'll drop this lawsuit. Call us back right away. Number one, IRS or any reputable company like that is never going to call you at home. You would get notified an official letter for you to call them. Caller ID, I think most people all have it now. It's a simple app, as we can say it, the kids all say and I say, or a program. I can call anyone from anywhere and create my own phone number. So if I'm in Mexico and I have this app and I want to make it look like I'm calling from a 763 number, area code, I can program this little box to say, this is the number I want to show up on the people in Golden Valley, and they'll think, oh, it's a local number, it's a 763 number or a 952 number, so it must be something legit. Well, the reality is they might be in North Carolina, overseas. A lot of the stuff we deal with is overseas. They're trying to scam you. So if you hear the word wire or send me money, or you're in big trouble,
Go to the store and get what's called a green dot card, and then they want the number. It's like essentially like just putting cash on a credit card, like a gift card, but then you give them the number off the card and they can pull the money off without ever physically having the card.
Just hang on one sec. Let me add so I don't forget. That's a crime of opportunity where, and we've had this, guys. Someone will send them the money, and then they'll come into us and say, oh my gosh, I sent them $5,000 because I felt like I had to right now. What do you think we're going to be able to do for you? Zero. That's going to be zero. It's kind of like, we're sorry. No different, again, I say this, someone coming up to you, again, crime of opportunity, taking advantage. You need we'll do your driveway with the black seal. And I use these stories because they're all stuff that we've dealt with. And this person in particular, yeah, okay, I don't know what the original bid was, couple $100, I don't remember. Next thing, they're bringing in more buckets. Your driveway is really, really bad. We need to keep adding it on. Okay. The next thing you know, she's in for over $6,000. And they said, well, we've done all the work. You've got to pay us now. And I mean, it was the most shoddy. It was basically watered down, nothing. But if that person then went to the bank, got cash, gave the money to them, and do you think they're a local company or anything? They're gone. Opportunity to take advantage of somebody. So I just use those as examples of, people are out there and they'll try to take advantage. You had a comment, sir?
Yeah. Question. We're on the do not call list, but I'm still getting all of these calls, recordings. I went on a trip to Bahamas and I've won all this other stuff. How can they still call all that if you're not on?
Well, if you figure that out, will you call and tell me? Because I'm on that list too.
It doesn't work.
What it essentially does, and I'm just telling you in generic terms, is for the average business, a reputable good business, if you're on that list, they're supposed to honor that they can't call your home or have contact. There are loopholes around, we're not selling you something, we're not doing stuff. Again, a lot of this stuff comes out of country. It's not local. But there's no doubt. I mean, when that first started, it really did kind of put a calm on the calls. Caller ID, if you see on your phone, I mean, I run with my cell phone, but if I see any number, 877, 855, I didn't call anyone. I mean, I know it's going to be something that I'm not interested in talking, and if it's something legit, they can leave me a phone number, and if I believe it's legit, I might call them back or check into it. But what I would caution you on is, even if you think it's legit, and I've had this myself, they'll call you back, they'll say, this is such and such from the bank, and I did find out it was legit, but it drove me nuts. Well, we can't provide you any information until you give us your social security number, and you're calling them back because they have a question, they want to settle something. We can't provide you any information until you verify your account. Well, I tell them, how am I going? I'm not giving you any of my personal information. I don't even know who you are. You give me some number to call. So then what I just did is, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to find a number that I believe is right. Go on the internet. Whatever bank, whatever company it was, I find their general number. Say, I just got a call. I know they're connecting me to someone that's good. Here's mine. Yep, we left you a message. And you kind of have to go from there. You have to decide, is this real or, that's your judgment call. But
the same, just to go on that too, the same goes if it's a phone call or an email or even a written letter, and it might have the logo for your bank or your credit card on there. But if it's asking in that email or that, even I've seen written letters where they actually mail them to you for personal information that they should already have because you have business with them, it's probably not legitimate. They are redirecting you. If it's an email, they're redirecting you to their own site. Again, it might look like your bank or your credit card's website, but it's not. And they're just trying to capture that personal information off of there.
right. Yes, ma'am.
We have caller ID, and several times we've got a call coming in with our own phone number on there. How does that happen?
They're spoofing it.
I've never seen that before.
That's becoming interesting you say that, because I've heard more and more of that in the last 6 months. And I always come because my mom calls me with this, and she had this. She goes, I've gotten 2 numbers today with my own number ringing on my caller ID. Well, again, I think it's a ploy to say, well, maybe they'll answer. And I will tell you, some of these people that do these phone scams number one, if you answer and have any dialogue with them, and number 2, if you call them back, they can become relentless on not stopping and calling you for a while until they just finally realize you're not going to give them what they want. If you just ignore that phone call, don't respond to it.
Steve, I'm going to say, Steve talked about the IRS phone scam. The other one that I just got a phone call about it again yesterday is the grandchild that is in prison or in jail somewhere. No, they're not. I had a debate with a couple in our lobby for about 45 minutes one day because they were adamant. They're like, no, it was him, it was his voice. And I'm like, no, it really wasn't. And it took us a while to get a hold of a family member, to get a hold of the person that they were claiming was in jail and needed the bail money. And no, he was in school, everything was fine. So they're really good at what they do.
Yes, they are.
And that's how they get away with it, unfortunately, and people fall for it. But if you get the phone call, that says that your grandchild, grandson, granddaughter got into some trouble and is in jail and needs some bail money somewhere.
Yeah, I got a phone call from my grandson. His name was Mike.
And they'll know the
Mike-
names.
and
They'll know
Mike-
all sorts
Mike
of stuff.
couldn't, But I don't have one named
Oh,
Mike.
okay.
But he gave my last name, and he didn't pronounce it correctly. So I just hung up on him. But here he is. He's probably going to give me a spiel about something. But
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah, they're really good at what they do.
I mean, you got to look at let's say they do 1,000 of those calls a day, and 2 or 3 people out of 1,000 bite on it
Full for it.
and send them whatever 5,000, 1,000, 500. That's pretty good day of business, you know, for just making generic phone calls, just spinning and going. And again, it's something that I would tell you 99.9% of the time it's nothing we're going to be able to do, because most of these are out of country. They make it sound like and look like that it's all good and local. They can put on their caller ID, what they want it to display. But, you know, like they say, if it stinks, it probably stinks. And
There's a question over here.
About that out of country, I usually ignore any number if it's not immediate family. I actually picked one up and it was a solicitor. Boom. But I keep it on the ID. Well then, maybe 5 to 7 days pass and they start in again. But it's in Spanish. It doesn't say out of area in English. So if you see things in another language, that's another tip-off, like this isn't a legitimate call.
Yeah.
Well, or I was gonna say the one where when you keep it, you can go back and like they've called 20 or 30 or, I had one that I swear called 50 times the same number because I never answered, and it just kept coming up on the
And depending on who your phone company is, you may be able to block those numbers at no charge. I know, and especially on cell phones, I think I can block up to like 6 numbers, and it just won't even ring through. And they'll just get a message on our end that says this number's been blocked.
well, it's no different. And you look at email. I mean, email right now is you can, you know, you log into your email and you think you've blocked this or that, and the junk emails and the scams that come through, and same thing, you know, send us money, or the one that was going around, they get on someone's general email list, they know their name, and they'll say, I'm so embarrassed to get a hold of you guys, but I'm in wherever in another country, I have been held by the consulate or something. They've taken all my stuff, please send. I mean, I've gotten, I don't know, probably 5+ of those from somebody, and they're just a generic email. So again, you know,
What's even better is when we get them at work, because, you know, it's coming, you know, police, you know.
I'll get these calls saying, oh, we noticed that there's a problem with your computer, blah, blah, blah. And I said, isn't that interesting? I don't have one.
I get
Yeah.
the same ones and I don't have a computer. I
Yep.
was gonna mention that. I said, stop calling me, I don't have a
Doesn't work.
computer.
Our Capital One bank account has been compromised. We don't have a Capital One.
Yeah.
All
No.
the time.
Well, again, I mean, that just the conversation we're having is just awareness on things that, you know, it's an easy target. The internet, Facebook, stuff like that has made it so much easier for people to get personal information, to get, you know, as simple as when you got a call, and I don't know anyone's lives, but if I'm and I'm not a Facebooker, but I do know with working with these folks, if I get on someone's Facebook, some people lay their entire lives out of their day on Facebook. Here's what I'm doing today. My grandson Jimmy and I are going. We just spent $20 at the thing. Well, if I'm a crook and I can get on this, I can say, okay, I can make up a good story here because I'm watching your whole life unfold in front of me. I know who all your friends and stuff are. So now when I make that call and say, listen, Jimmy's in jail. Well, yeah, Jimmy, you guys were, we were talking to him. He said, you guys were at the store last week and you bought something. Well, they don't know him. They're just reading it right off the Facebook. And now you're starting to believe, well, gosh, do they really have Jimmy in jail and he's got no money? Maybe I do need to run over there right now.
They'll make it very convincing.
And send that check. So I'm just saying, my message to you today is just, you know, be extra smart on what, you know, before you make that decision, before you leave the change in your thing. Don't make it easy on these guys because it's already easy enough.
And you guys may or may not have Facebook pages, but I'm betting that there's somebody in your family that does. And you should ask them, what kind of stuff are you posting and who can see it? Because you can have security settings where it locks down so only their friends can see, you know, certain things. Strangers can't see stuff. Part of my job is to help the officers and the investigators when they have a suspect in something and maybe they just have a name. Part of my job is to what we call data mine and just start digging to see if I can find the person, but then find out everything I can about this person. And where do you think the first place I go is? Facebook. Because first of all, bad guys are not the smartest, and they never have security settings on their Facebook page. So within about, a half an hour, I can have their, name. I know who their friends are. I can dig through their friends' stuff to see, is this friend associated with this particular crime that we're trying to investigate? But then from there, it just kind of explodes, and I can get everything we want. We arrested a woman, actually, it was probably like a year or two ago, and we know that she had a male counterpart with her, and they were doing some burglaries in our city. And he skedaddled before the cops got there, and she got arrested, and he didn't, as she was walking down the street. And she won't tell us who she was with. But her cell phone kept ringing, and it just had, like, Nate. It just said Nate on there. Well, I just go on her Facebook page, and she's got, like, a couple thousand friends, but I just am like, Nate. Oh, there he is, And sure enough, by this time, she's getting transported downtown to jail. He's waiting to visit her downtown at jail. So I'm like, he's done, You can go find him.
I mean, you can't believe what we get off this Facebook. I mean, when we investigate crimes, the suspect might, or the victim might describe the suspect. This is what he was wearing. This is the shoes he had on, whatever. You go on their Facebook, and there's a picture of him standing right there. We may not have known exactly who it was, but they described the outfit that he's wearing to a T. Or we've had them where they're actually standing next to the stolen property, bragging, look what I got.
Yeah. We had a guy who he actually robbed the subway, and on his Facebook page, not only was he wearing the same clothes, but he was holding the cash, and he's like, "Oh, I just got paid," and we were like, "Yes, you did." Oh yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Just
Because
remember,
the one thing we do is the first thing we do is make like copies of it and kind of get it into the official case file, because they can take those down at any time, especially if they think the cops are onto them. So.
And as we tell anyone, again, I'm more attuned to it because I've got teenage daughters in high school and friends, and I try to drill into all of their heads that anything you put on the social media, the reality is it's pretty much there forever.
Yep.
So someone wants to copy one of your pictures that you've posted and post it up on their website or do something with it, you've put it out there for everyone to see. So
that's why
again, opportunities is kind of what we're throwing out. Yes, ma'am.
Find out what they're putting out there.
It's not exactly Facebook, but I guess one of the things I was hoping to get answered today was our daughter lives in Rogers, and we just happened to be going down the street after something had happened, and I was talking to someone here in Golden Valley, and she said, a couple weeks ago, our daughter, and she relayed, and it was this almost exact story as what had happened in Rogers. And that was, anyway, the front door of our house, we have two side windows, and ours we thought were protected, with a lot of metal and whatever. But anyway, the burglar comes and breaks the glass next to the front door, reaches around, unhooks it in the middle of the day, and then goes through the house to the garage. The garage door goes up, and they drive in, close the door. And this in Golden Valley, got the safe and got all the birth certificates and guns and whatever from a hole in the floor that must have busted open the safe. Anyway, we are just what can we do?
Well, we're going to actually talk about that the next meeting. No, I'm just kidding. Because you said you wanted your answer today, so you have to have a little fun in this job. Trust me. If you don't have that attitude, it's. So we'll both talk about a little bit. Certainly, burglary again. That's definitely a crime of opportunity. Not uncommon. Here's the bottom line: if someone wants to get into your home, if someone really wants to get into your home and you're not home, unless you got a fortress going on, most people can get in, whether they want to break a window out, go in, or whatever. A lot of the burglaries we are seeing right now in our city and many cities around us are daytime burglaries. Number one, again, nobody's home. Persons going in don't want to take that risk. You know, they don't want to encounter you. They want a simple in and out target. So you need to be aware of, you know, am I making it easy for them? Is my car sitting in my driveway with my garage door opener sitting in up in my sun visor? If I can just get into that car that's maybe unlocked and push the sun visor button, the garage door goes up, easy access into the house. You know, simple things like that. Again, to break a window and go around and unlock the door, yeah, that's a way that they get in.
What I'll tell you too is what you described is how that happened is kind of a trend of what not only we've seen in Golden Valley, but the whole kind of West Metro area is seeing. We have identified some persons of interest. They actually got arrested in another city, and we haven't had any burglaries since then.
Been pretty low, so
we haven't had any since then. So we're gonna take a gander that those guys might be the ones responsible. You know, so it's not super common. It's not like we have burglaries every day in Golden Valley. 30 years ago, we did. We used to have a lot more back in the 70s. Anybody want to guess why? 70s, early 80s? The age of our population. We had a lot more boys in the ages of 15 to 24 back in the 70s and early 80s than we do now. It's boys between the ages of 15 and 24 that commit the majority of property crime, and we just don't have as many. So it's one of the reasons that not just burglaries, but other property crimes have gone down. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons. But you know, we still have burglaries. In the summer, many of them are absolutely crimes of opportunity, because you go out to mow the backyard and you leave the garage door open. They just walk right through the garage into the house while you're out mowing the lawn.
If someone as simple as comes to, you know, rings your doorbell, there's just people out, you know, looking to see what's available. You know, what's an opportunity today, and you're not expecting someone rings your doorbell and you answer, and it's almost like they're startled. You know, like, whoa, I wasn't expecting someone to answer the door here, and they come up with something like, was Mike around? No, there's no Mike that lives here. I mean, something like that. That's where the light bulb should come on and say, something doesn't look right here. That's when we would ask you, you know, you guys know your neighborhoods. You know your neighbors. You know if they're gone. You know if the car that's pulling up to their garage door and the garage door is open doesn't look right. When I drive by, I may not know whose car that is. But the people that live in that neighborhood, oh, those guys are out of town for 2 weeks and I don't know what that car's doing there. We would want you to call us. We'd rather find out it's Aunt Gertrude over feeding the cats versus the whole back window was smashed out, they loaded up the car and they're gone, and now we don't have anything. We'd rather find out it's nothing.
I can't tell you how many times in my career, and Steve can probably say the same thing, that we've had people after the fact go, oh, well, I saw that white van in the parking lot or in their driveway, and you know, it seemed kind of odd, but I just thought, oh, maybe they were getting some work done. But I knew they were at work, you know, and the more they talk, it's just like, dig the hole deeper. You know, so as Steve said, we'd much rather have you call and our officers go out there and find out that everything is fine, that it is a workman who's there to fix the plumbing, and it's not some guy who's trying to rip off their stereo system.
If I had $1 for every time someone said, I hate to bother you.
Oh,
you know,
bother?
I just don't think this is it. I hate to bother you. Well, I mean, that's why we're out there. And if, you know, certainly if we're busy and someone may not get there within seconds, but that's why we're there. We prioritize the calls. We will always have someone go and check something. If it's certainly an emergency, even if we're tied up, you will see another city that we work with. We do the same for them. Someone will show up and decide, no, it's nothing. Yeah, you do have this going on, and we'll try to break a car free, handle it ourselves. But always understand that, you know, or I shouldn't call 911. You know, oh, this isn't an emergency. The same people that answer 911 are the same people that answer the non-emergency number. 911 gives them all your information unless you're on a cell phone. That's kind of the, but if you're calling from a home phone, all your information's right there for them. So don't ever feel like you're bothering. I bet you many of you folks have lived in Golden Valley or other places for a long time. You've paid those taxes for many, many years. Don't feel like you're finally using it once in a while, that you're burdening anyone. We're happy to go out and check stuff out. You need to understand that. So.
Strange noises, strange
Yes,
people,
ma'am.
anything.
They break into your house, are they looking for big ticket items like TVs, or are they gonna rip through your?
It depends. So here's what I say. If I'm a crook and you've got that safe sitting in your bedroom with all your personal papers in it, and it's got that that plastic safe that's supposed to be indestructible. This is where it's fireproof. If I'm the guy coming in, what do you think the first thing I want to take is? Probably that safe that's pretty easy to walk out with, and I can tell you that doesn't take much to open those up. I will tell you the big ticket items, unless they've got transportation right there, and we've had this where they're backing vans up right to a driveway. Again, to your neighbors, it might just look like it's someone over there doing something. They might load the TVs up, they might do stuff like that, but you got to have some way to get the stuff out. Most of the stuff we see is smaller, jewelry. It doesn't take a genius to know where do you keep your jewelry? In the jewelry box, on the dresser. I mean, in the places that if you have an expensive piece of jewelry, well, maybe if I put it in the drawer in between two, they're thinking the same way you are, where those items might be. So be creative on, if you have certain personal items. Safety deposit box, obviously. I mean, that's not a convenient thing, but if you have personal papers or something out of the home, be creative on your hiding spots. That's, someone comes in, if I do, it's like, well, he'd never think to look here because he'd never know about it. But we know where the jewelry box is. They know how to dump drawers all over, those are certain things that they just do. So
Jewelry, they're going to look for credit cards, cash, loose change. Electronics are now smaller and smaller and smaller, so they can fill up their backpacks with iPads, iPods, iPhones, all sorts of things pretty easily. They don't necessarily need a big, giant, vehicle. We have arrested burglars in the past that was their original intention. Then when they got in the house and they saw, I want the big screen TV, we've had them call their buddy and say, hey, come and get me, and they try to cram it, into the car, into the van that their buddies showing up with. Many years ago, we had a burglar who got into the house, saw the big screen TV, and in those days, it was like the big screen, on wheels. You had to wheel out. And he decided he wanted it, so he went down the street and stole a convertible and tried to put it in the back. Well, and he got it in the back of the convertible, but then when he tried to go up the hill, it fell out, and it didn't go so well for him. Ironically enough, he got released from prison last year, and we arrested him again last fall. And he's now serving another 92 months. So he was back at it. He's what we would call the career criminal.
What about following a UPS truck and picking the stuff up as they drop it off?
Certainly an easy situation, absolutely. And I would tell you, if you're ordering that stuff, it's know your time frame. It should be coming. I think you can track it right online on kind of.
Even if you sign up for like the UPS and FedEx Preferred, which is free, but they'll actually just send you messages like your package will be there tomorrow. You'll know like within a very short window of when it's supposed to be coming.
Or if you're not there and your neighbor is home, have them drop it off at that house. But I mean, that's a perfect scenario of, especially at, we see in the holidays. People just driving around looking for piles of stuff at someone's door, taking them and heading out. And again, if I drove by and saw that person standing on the door, and I might think, I don't know. But if you lived across the street going, I don't recognize that person that just pulled in, and they're taking those presents off or gifts or whatever they are. That's when we would hope you would call, and hopefully we can stop them. And it is legit or it's not. But again, I think the theme's pretty clear today. As if you take away the easy opportunities for people, be aware of your surroundings, be accountable for your personal information, your bank cards, your checks. It makes it it protects you so much more from being a victim. It's not going to guarantee, but it definitely will protect. Yes, ma'am.
Our house was broken into in 1991 in a different state, in the state of Maryland. And afterwards, the police came. One of the policemen walked through and told us things that we could do to prevent that from happening again, like putting motion detector lights out, you know, always leaving a television or something noisy on when you left the house, especially at night. That was 1991, and to this very day, I am not here now because we're a safe place, you know, in a different house.
But we offer the same thing, and you don't have to wait to be a victim. I myself, yep, I myself, for one of our officers, am more than happy to come out and kind of do the same thing with you guys. Also, if you travel and you're going on vacation, call us and let us know that you're going to be out of the house. We'll put you on what's called a vacation home check. Usually once or twice a week, either our CSOs, which are community service officers, or our reserve officers, will grab those addresses, and then we come out. They just kind of look around, walk around the outside of the house, make sure everything looks okay. If there is a problem, you've given us the information as to who should we contact. Do you have somebody local, or do we have a cell number to contact you? I'll be honest, I don't think we've ever found a burglary, but we have found a lot of frozen water pipes in the winter where they have burst, and you now have a flooding issue, which at least you're aware of. It's not the great thing you want to hear when you're on vacation, but it's whether it's winter, summer, it doesn't matter. You know, let us know that you're going to be gone, and we're more than happy to help keep an eye. We can't guarantee exactly when and where we'll be there, but we do get out there about once a week just to check on the house. Yep.
If you had a sensor on your doors or windows or something, and the only thing that happened was a siren inside your house went off, is that enough of a deterrent to help? Would that scare somebody to, you know?
It may or may not. They know that they're still going to have a couple of minutes before the cops get there. If they think that it's, you know, like a monitored alarm where the cops are going to be sent, they still know that they're going to have a couple of minutes that they could quick grab a couple things. Do the neighbors hear it? You know, and if you're relying on the neighbors hearing it, are they going to call the police when they hear it? I mean, we had one last year where the alarm went off for like 45 minutes and they burglarized the house and nobody ever called. It wasn't monitored. And nobody ever called. I don't think any of the neighbors were home. So if anybody heard it, they never called us, you know. And
Something's better than nothing.
yeah.
It might help, it might not.
It kind of depends on the burglar. You know, it depends on your setup of your house and if neighbors are home. And
Look, I suppose.
yep. Yeah. I mean, if they look around and they don't see an alarm panel, they're going to probably know that there's no alarm and that it's just, you know, something going off.
Any other questions, comments? Yes?
About, like, for retired folks that are home during the day, I have this battle with my parents quite often. My dad likes to park the big van in the driveway, no remote, no nothing, garage door down. He says people will know we're home. Mom says, no, make it Fort Knox, pull the shades, you know, don't have anything out. Which would you recommend?
Well, I would tell you this from my standpoint is, if I drive around in the daytime or early evening, the number one tip-off to me that someone's probably not home is you got your outside lights on. You know, people turn their outside lights on if they're gone. You know, they might, you know, we're going to be gone for the whole day, but I want my lights on at night when I come home. Well, I drive by at 2 in the afternoon and I see all your outside lights on. That's a huge tip to a lot of people that someone's not home. You know, I think you could go either way. I think if you're showing people that you're home and you are home or someone's home, you're much less, there's nothing saying I'm home because there's a car sitting in my driveway more than it is that my driveway's closed. But I think if you give the impression to people someone's around, that might be for that person to say, yeah, this isn't worth, I want to move on to an easier target. This one just looks a little bit.
You know, as a bad guy, if I saw a house and all the shades were drawn and it was the middle of the day, I'd be like, score, nobody will see me inside. You know, that's the way I would think.
And I'd rather have material loss than human loss, of course.
Yep.
So I would think going with the vehicle parked, or if you are moving it during the day, park it if you have space, park it a little differently so people, if they're scoping, they will see that there's been movement there.
That doesn't happen very often where they're going to come back and kind of keep checking out the same house. They could. It can happen. It's just not common. More than likely, they're going to walk up to the house. They're not going to knock on the door. If you answer the door, they're going to come up with some story like, hey, does Mike live here? Or I lost my dog. Have you seen a little white dog? And then they're going to go on their merry way. If you don't answer, they're going to be kicking in the door.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So it's better to answer the door.
Well, you don't necessarily have to open the door to them, but let them know you're home. You know, that's what I do.
Flip a light?
Flip a light, or I just yell through the door, I'm busy, go away, you know. Although I felt really bad when I did that to a little Girl Scout.
I think if you, you know, if
I
you
looked out the window and I saw it was her, I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
So I run up.
I mean, if you give the impression that you're not home, that's where you could possibly run the risk of, you know, having that next step of does someone want to go further than what they're looking
Yep.
for, versus, you know, you don't have to open the door. You can certainly walk up. Can I help you? You know, now they got a person they're talking with that, you know, either oh yeah, okay, I understand, and I mean, you don't have to have that confrontation, but you know, I would say, you know, I get like again young daughters at home sometimes, and if the worst thing, as we all know, is they're not expecting someone. We're out and 8 o'clock at night, the doorbell rings. They're in full panic mode because they're not expecting anyone to be coming. Well, like I tell them, walk up to the door and look out. You got me on the phone. Oh, it's the neighbor. Okay, good. You know, but you don't know. You just don't know, and that's again where you got to be smart. You know, kind of take the whole picture as a whole, and there's no guarantees. I mean, you know, anything can happen. There's nothing we could guarantee.